procedure. So moving on, let's talk about DZs. So drop zones. How do we establish drop zones? And then, what are some things that we think about there?
So in terms of drop zones, I mean, you've got to think about your getting things in there. So whether it's static line operations, military free fall operations, whether it's container delivery systems. So you're thinking like whether it's small containers, vehicles, strapping parachutes to them, throwing them out. Then you could do the kind of heavier where you're actually throwing out big vehicles, Humvees and stuff like that.
Huge resupply bundles.
Yeah, huge. I mean, you have what we call speedballs and stuff like that, which are just very tightly packed, ammo, food, water, fuel, and that kind of stuff. And that literally any aircraft not any aircraft, but
not any aircraft.
Yeah, we're not F-22s aren't freaking opening up the canopy and chucking it out the side or have them built in, and then just drop them. But you know what I mean? Like, can a helicopter just come out and just chuck them out? Like that kind of thing, a speedball. So there's a bunch of different methods of air delivery that we can utilize, and we have to set up kind of a drop zone for that. And we can do a hasty drop zone, and we could do pre-planned drop zones, just like I'm going to roll right into HLZ since we're already talking about assault zone. So, there are different dimension requirements for helicopter landing zones. Same with drop zones, but helicopter landing zones, each aircraft is different size, has different rotor blades. Like a 47 is different than the 53. Not too much different, but there are some differences. CV22 needs a whole lot of space, whereas a 60 or a Little Bird or a Huey doesn't need that much, right? So we can, so for the same amount of space, maybe I can fit two Hueys in, or two 60s in, but I can only fit maybe one CV22, that kind of thing. Like, I'm not going to go into the numbers because I would probably just embarrass myself not knowing the numbers right off the top of my head.
Right, yeah.
But I'd probably fare pretty well. But so those are the things that you got to think about. And then you also got to think about, the uneven terrain, the incline or the slope rather, of the terrain. You got to think about, are there tree stumps? Are there other obstacles? I remember going we were in Mosul, and for whatever reason, we just had no other option but to land on this soccer field. And I mean, it was just, we needed to get out of there, and there was no other option. And, there's these goalposts, and the 160th, incredible pilots, but the old Night Stalkers. But I tell you what, he came down and flared, and then in a brownout, by the way, which if you're not familiar with the brownout, you guys, it's basically where all that dust kicks up and the pilots and the crew and nobody can see a thing, and they are going off of instinct and their instruments. But he put that tail rotor a good 6 feet away from that goalpost.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
But so that is why, HLZ selection and HLZ, dimensions and giving an HLZ brief and stuff like that is important. So those are all things that are kind of come very natural to us, and it's inherent to what we do.
Right. And there's other units out there, like Army Pathfinders are notoriously good at finding spots for this. The difference between, and by the way, combat control started from the Army Pathfinder program. That's where combat control has its history, is Pathfinders. But we can do this on the fly. We can look around and go, hey, is this as big as a school bus? Can I get a helicopter in here? All right, let's go. Now this is our HLZ, and we're going to support whatever operations it is. And people get wrapped around the axle about like, oh, well, what kind of stuff can you guys do there? Listen, if you don't have the ability to have aerial resupply, if you don't have the ability to have a follow-on force come in, this is the reason that combat controllers are so good at austere airfield establishment and then control, right? It's another reason why combat controllers are so good at air traffic control, because you can look around and you can go, okay, cool. Yeah, this spot is way big enough for like 3 or 4 aircraft. Well, if you have 3 or 4 aircraft in the stack, well, now you have an airfield. You made Dallas Love Field in the middle of nowhere, and now you got to be that controller, and you gotta get those planes in there. So,
I'm gonna see if we can mention one more airport. Maybe we can get Charlotte in there.
Hey, Charlotte.
Something like that.
I will say Charlotte's Lounge, the Centurion Lounge in Charlotte, magnifique. Every time I see Every time I see a layover in Charlotte, I'm like, boo, boo, boo. I'll see you in that lounge, my friend.
Not to
Move,
discount the USO. Charlotte USO is
is it
pretty
good?
on point. So
I'm
shout
sorry,
out to
maybe
you guys.
shout out to the USL. I'm sure we'll tag you in this one. I'm sure you guys will give us a retweet or whatever.